Teaching around the world.
Okay, my name's Alex Nixon and I'm a science teacher with a specialism in biology, and I teach at an international school in Bahrain.
Gem's 12 quick questions. Teaching around the world. Question number 1. Number of students in your class.
I have 20 students in my smallest class and 27 in my largest.
What do your students call you?
What do your students call you? We always use surnames, so they call me Mr. Nixon, or more commonly they generally just call me Sir.
How many hours do you teach a day?
I teach between 4 and 6 hours. They're not literally hours, it's actually 55-minute time slots, but I teach between 4 and 6 per day, and then obviously it goes down in the third term when a lot of my students, so year 11 and year 13 students, go on study leave.
What's the best thing about being a teacher in your country?
In my experience, the students that I work with are generally very driven. They've generally all got goals. They really want to achieve a lot. A lot of them are hoping to be doctors and engineers and things like that, and it's great to work with that kind of motive.
When does your school day start and finish?
We have registration at 7:45 and the first lesson at 8 o'clock, and our last lesson finishes at 2:55, and teachers can leave from 3:15.
How many staff meetings per week?
Unless we have a staff meeting. Which leads us to how many staff meetings per week. We have a staff briefing every Sunday morning. Our work week is Sunday till Thursday, and our staff briefing on Sunday morning is every week, but it never lasts more than 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes. We also have 1 hour of staff meetings scheduled every week after school, but we don't always attend them. It depends whether it's specifically arranged for us or not. So maybe once a month there would be a faculty meeting in that 1 hour time slot, and so I would attend that as a science teacher to the science meeting. But there might be meetings that are specific to middle leadership, and so obviously not being a middle leader, I wouldn't have to attend the meeting that week. I probably attend the 1 hour after school meetings once every 2 or 3 weeks.
When is your big holiday, and how long is it for?
In the Northern Hemisphere summer, so July, August, and it lasts for 7 or 8 weeks.
What technology do you use in your classroom?
I use obviously an overhead projector, and I use presentations every now and then. We've got smart boards in most classrooms, which I use from time to time, and sometimes I might have students do something I've been experimenting with recently, is having students complete a digital worksheet where they complete it on their devices, on their phones or laptops, and I can see what each student or each group is working on, what they're typing at the right time, and then I can give them feedback or add comments and things like that. But that being said, generally I don't like to use too much technology in the class. Usually I want to encourage students to be talking to each other during lessons, and I prefer to use technology as a way to extend the education outside of the classroom. So something that's going to help them learning, help them do homework, help them do tasks that otherwise they wouldn't be able to if it wasn't for the technology.
What is your most valuable teaching strategy?
Anything that helps the students to talk. I think the most important thing that students should be doing in lessons is talking to each other to come to an understanding about the content. So any strategy that involves discussion is a valuable one to me. I don't really want to be too specific about what strategy that might be, because I actually think that another one of the most valuable tools is variety, and so having one single strategy would probably be a bad idea in my mind. So keeping it fresh and having students talk, I think, is about as specific as I would want to be.
How do you get to school?
I drive to school. There's very little option in that.
What is the biggest issue affecting education in your country?
The biggest problem I've experienced since being here is the sort of timing of the year and how it falls with religious festivals. So we have Ramadan falls sort of in the middle of, or maybe quite early in term 3, and we have shortened days. We have a lot of students who don't attend school during that time, and it affects the amount of content that we get to cover. A lot of students will come back after Ramadan having missed quite a lot of the work that we've covered during that time. We've also got shortened days, so we have shorter lessons during that time, and sort of still keeping up with the content that we want to do while also having to remain flexible does pose a bit of a challenge. And it's not by any means impossible, it's just you've kind of got to think ahead and realise that term 3 is going to be a much slower term than the other two.
What's the one thing you want your future students to know about you?
I think I want my future students to know that I, like any teacher I think, but that I have the primary goal of wanting them to reach their potential. I think students sometimes feel that teachers are just there to kind of spoil the fun, to make them do boring work, make them do things that they don't want to do, whereas in reality we get our job satisfaction from helping them to succeed. When we see that look on students' faces when they finally understand something, or that look when they've been getting really poor grades and suddenly they've got the grade that they wanted, that's what gives me job satisfaction. And I think if my students know that that is my primary goal, that they are my primary goal, I think they'd be a lot happier in my classes, a lot happier in my classroom, and I think they'd be a lot more on board and a lot more able to reach that potential.